Andrew Elton here. I just wanted to jump on real quick and give an update concerning the Conjuring House, Jason Hawes and his GoFundMe, and everything else. I'm going to try to be quick and precise because I've tried doing this video like 20 times and it keeps failing for some reason. So first off, with the Conjuring House, it was supposed to go on auction on Halloween night this year of 2025, which obviously got canceled. Someone came in and bought the debt, the mortgage debt from the bank. They didn't buy the property. They bought the debt itself, or people say the note, or whatever the case may be, which means they are now the new mortgage brokers. So there's good news and bad news. Bad news is obviously the auction got canceled for the Conjuring House. The good news is that gives Jason Hawes time to really think about or plan things out a little bit more and kind of figure out exactly what's going on with the property. Because at the moment, nobody knows exactly who it was. We're assuming it's an investment firm that came in and bought the mortgage. But with that being said, there's a federal law stating like when the mortgage transfers, there's a 60-day grace period where you can't consider payments late. So there's an automatic 60 days free for Balefire LLC, or as you may know, Nunez, that owns the Conjuring House. Then Rhode Island State itself has a 120-day requirement of missed payments before you can even start foreclosure processes. I don't know, however, if the payments are retroactive or if it just completely starts over. Because it was Needham Bank that had the mortgage before. They sold it off to someone else. That's why the auction got canceled, because they are obviously not vested in the property anymore. Just so we're clear on that point. So it's at least 6 months before they can even start foreclosure processes. Jason Hawes did a live the other day, and he said, he's laser focused on the GoFundMe, and the whole point of it is to purchase the Conjuring House, plain and simple. No matter what, I call everything else hopeful promises. So the idea is he's raising funds to offset his own financial burden. In theory, would offset his personal investment to be able to keep the cost down or lower once he does purchase the Conjuring House. And I say once he does. It's if he does, but I say once he does. Because let's face it, there's too many people watching this for it not to happen. So, just so we're clear on that point, and I'm not against Jason Hawes in the least bit. I am extremely critical of certain aspects, especially when I first saw that he had a GoFundMe. I said someone of that caliber, notoriety, and putting out a GoFundMe, kind of put up red flags for me, and it was like, whoa, let's reel this back in. So just so you know, when you donate, and you should, if you want to, it is strictly for him to purchase the Conjuring House. And I'll get into everything else and why I say it's hopeful promises. So apart from that, you had the video that came out with Andrea Perrin pleading for Jason Hawes to purchase the Conjuring House, who was adamant that he wanted nothing to do with it. But then that video came out, pulled at his heartstrings, and he felt compelled, like he had to do something, right? That's how it all came about. And then he started the GoFundMe. Ta-da, and here we are. I did message him and I told him like you might not be a fan of my criticisms, and I'm fully well aware of how I can come off in written format at times. But also, I think there's a sense of accountability and responsibility that one has to hold, especially with someone like Jason Hawes when he's going through such a thing like GoFundMe and asking his fan base for monetary amounts or donations. Because there are some people that will just jump on the Hawes train, like I'm calling it the Hawes train. All right, that's my phrase. But they'll jump on board because they're diehard followers and will go with anything he says, regardless of his opinion or anything else of the sort. So you just always have to be aware of that type of stuff. And it's not because I don't believe that he's dishonest. It's because it puts him in a position to where if he wanted to be, he could be. And that's where my criticisms come into play. It's to keep people honest. Like I keep running records of a bunch of stuff and information. And like I said, when I messaged him, I really didn't expect a message back as soon as I did. So I'm just going to chalk it up to he is already doing something, happened to see a notification, and was like, hey, F this guy. And then saw what I had to say. And he was extremely polite in his response. But I did tell him, obviously he's probably not a huge fan of my criticisms at times. And I'm not trying to derail his thing. My goal is to keep people honest. The good thing about that is how public this has gone, and the publicity it's gotten already holds a certain amount of weight to where I don't have to be so in everyone's faces about saying, hey, let's make sure we're holding people accountable, just because the public and the publicity of it all will hold a certain amount of weight to do that in and of itself. So my criticisms at the moment are fairly mild. I think even JV kind of called him out. Not really called him out, but said on the live stream, like when Jason Hawes said, can I be any more clearer? And JV had said something along the lines of, no, you've said it multiple different ways, even within this live stream, but the main thing comes back to we're raising funds to purchase the Conjuring house. Nothing more, nothing less. It's to save it for restorations, so it doesn't sit abandoned. It doesn't just get passed around these investment firms and go to waste, or someone doesn't exploit it and charge ridiculous amounts. Like I said, and that's where the GoFundMe comes into play, to offset his financial burden himself personally, and he's already committed to match the donations dollar for dollar to $1 million, so he's $1 million in himself regardless. At least, he said he'd match. But that's besides the point. But then he goes on to say things like, I think he hypes himself up. I get the fact that he wants to win, right? And not necessarily just because it's a Conjuring house, just because I think that's a personality trait that I've noticed, because he'll start talking and he hypes himself up as he's talking, which is great. Nothing against that. But then he starts saying things like, all the things they can do on the property, they can build on it, they can expand, they can, all these other things. But it's like, if you want the property to not be for profit, where are these funds coming from to what? All right, that's part of my criticism. But I understand, I get it. I do. But that's where I'm saying, like, we have to reel things into reality a little bit. And nobody knows like what's affordable. He pushes affordability, and I get that the donations would offset his cost to an extent to where he can offer it for less than what he would be able to without those donations. But as far as actual price points go, nobody knows. Because we don't know exactly what's going on or how he's going to get the property yet. And we definitely don't know the price point. So the numbers are just assumptions. There are no hard numbers at the moment. So that's why I say that those are hopeful promises. But then he's talking about forming this LLC. The criticism I have there is not the LLC, because that's a smart move. Everyone should do it regardless, because it adds a layer of protection. That way, if something does go wrong, someone does something, especially with how public things are, and people can come in and try to sue things, and that way it's a barrier where they can only sue against the assets that the LLC has and not his personal assets, right? That's just smart business. Even Nunez did that, because it's not Jacqueline Nunez's name on the deed. It's Balefire LLC that owns the property currently. What else? Where was I going with this? Because I'm trying to keep this short and to the point. But with all that being said, like, I am 100% for him owning the property. But like I said, when he was talking about this formation of the LLC, he was talking about bringing people from the past back. I'm assuming he was talking about, like, Corey and Jen Heinzen, that were previously the owners that sold it to Jacqueline Nunez, that became employed under Jacqueline Nunez, and a few of the other tour guides. He did point out and make it a point to kind of mention quickly that he's not in contact with everyone from, I'll just say, that era, the Nunez era, because there were some people that were like diehard yay for Nunez, no matter what she was doing or her opinion or what she was saying and all the batshit stuff that was going on. You know, they were diehard supporters and backing her no matter what she did. And he did say that he hasn't really been in contact with any of those individuals, which is good. But still, my issue with bringing people from the past back to run it the day-to-day, because, you know, Jason Hawes doesn't want to be there to unlock and lock the doors and, you know, and all that other stuff, which is fine. He's still going to own it. He's still going to fund it. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because I know they did a live stream or a podcast with a bunch of the people that he was talking about. So I will refrain from being overly critical until I watch that and kind of gain a sense of their insight and perspective on things. But overall, like, my criticism at the moment, though, based on what I do know, is that they showed a little bit of disdain when Nunez came in and bought the property. What happened or why, I don't know the full details. I do know they weren't thrilled about it, because when they went to sell it, their big push was they wanted to go someone that was going to care and take care of the property. But they still went on. They were employed by Nunez. So regardless. And then, like I said, that's where my criticism comes in, because no one spoke out about Nunez until it wasn't benefiting them, whether they weren't getting their wages or benefits or whatever the case may be. Is the only time they really band together and started talking out about her. It is when things got, like, really bad, but they were still okay with the price point, the contracts, and everything else. So there's an issue there with me. But like I said, I'm going to refrain from being overly critical until I watch what they had to say and see if that clears up anything or perspective, or maybe I'll jump on board and say, hey, cool, that's one less criticism I don't have to be as harsh about. But regardless, as it stands, that's my point. All right? My whole thing is to keep people honest And in the paranormal field, that is extremely hard. I've been in the paranormal field over 20 years myself. All right, so it's not like I'm not used to it. I've seen all kinds of people come in, do all kinds of stuff. But with Jason Hawes in that message that I sent him, though, I did say, like I've got a lot of the actual documents and paperwork for the property. Because I was seeing if anything was showing up yet on who owned it. And I did tell him, once I caught wind of it or I saw it, but I'm not going to base it off of speculations or hearsay. Like, if I have the legal, like, federal documents that show who currently has the mortgage, I will pass that information along to him. And he, as far as he knows, he's probably going, yeah, you probably told 5 other people the same thing. But I didn't, because like Elton Castay and Matt Rife, or, you know, Sam and Kobe, or whatever, like, I didn't go to anyone else or message anyone else about it. And that it's not like I know any of these people personally. I don't even know Jason Hawes personally. So with that being said, because that's my integrity, who I am, I mean, unless they're offering money, hey, Elton Castay, how much you no. But my only criticism is, like, things like I can't blame Elton Castay and Matt Rife for their price point with how much it cost for them to purchase the Warrens house, which is not the Conjuring house, by the way, the Warrens house, and how much it cost and what they had to do to get it up and running, and all the other craziness with the town and everything else, I'm sure. But what I can hold them accountable for, there's 2 things I've noticed. One is Ryan Buell and his involvement. That's kind of through the NES or PR or whatever, NESPR, whatever that group is, the New England thing. But he is one person I'm adamant about should not be involved in paranormal to any extent. With his background, he's scanned his followers and people out of like $100,000 at least. I understand he was going through personal problems and issues of his own at the time, but that's not an excuse. There's been no restitution. A lot of those people didn't get any kind of refund or benefit. You know, they were just out. He was selling tickets to events that he never had. He claimed he had cancer, all kinds of stuff that was going on at the time. But like I said, he never made it right, and I still see him going to, like, paranormal events and people being like, yay, Ryan Buell, and all this other stuff. Like I'm sure he's very charismatic and a great person. That's besides the point. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's doing great, but I also hope he's doing well and great outside of the paranormal. Like, he shouldn't be engaged in guest or speaking engagements where he's getting paid within the paranormal field. That's just my perspective and opinion on it. But I will also hold them accountable for their contract for staying the night there. And Nunez did the same thing when she owned the Conjuring house. It has to do with recording, right? So if you record or you post on social media or anything, their clause is it has to be reviewed and approved by them. Now, I understand where they said, oh, well, it's not because we want to gatekeep a narrative, but it is. Like they said, oh, they want to keep the truth, and like the Annabelle went missing rumors and stuff. They don't want all that. But regardless, who cares? It's not your place. And what I say is, if you're trying to attract people in the paranormal community, like a big part of anything that anyone does, whether they're big-time YouTubers, they're making money, like I'm not making money for these videos, but if I'm going to investigate, I'm going to have a recording device, right? Like it's a big part of documenting what I'm doing. Me personally, like, you won't see my evidence or my investigations really online anywhere. That's not how I am. That's not how I want to be known within the paranormal field. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. I'm not new to it. But I don't want to make a spectacle out of what I do. There's reasons that I don't, personal reasons, because I'm not against people that do. Some people, like, Elton Castay and, Jason Hawes even had a show and, worked out great for them. But the point is, though, if you have to approve that, then I have an issue. And that's about anything, posting anything on social media, your recordings, yada yada. There's an issue there. That's just an automatic no, regardless of the price point. So I will hold them accountable for those 2 points. And like I said, the Jason Hawes thing, we'll see how things unfold. Hopefully we'll hear more or find out more exactly about what's going on with the property here within the next few weeks or months coming up. Because the good news is there's an extended amount of time where he can really push to GoFundMe instead of trying to squeeze in raise funds within just a couple weeks. Now he's got time to really focus on raising funds to its full extent and kind of figuring out who owns the debt. Now, I do think it would be hilarious if Jason Hawes went and purchased the debt from this company and he became the mortgage broker, because then Nunez would be forced to either keep the property out of his hands by paying him. That's the only way she would be able to, or if she defaults, he has a lien against the deed, and then he gets it eventually anyway. I just think that would be karma overall, to be honest with you. But then there's legal, like federal level, like legal requirements and things that you have to do if you purchase a mortgage. Like you can't change the mortgage terms or anything else. Like you're responsible for the terms and receiving payments from whoever has it, unless they default, and then you can start the whole foreclosure process. But like I said, that would add another 6 months. Far as I know, unless any of this is, the late payments are retroactive. I know the 6-day thing is not retroactive. So that's why I don't know if the other payments to, like, Needham Bank would carry over and be considered late payments, or if it just literally starts over new. That's my confusion on it. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal expert. I just happen to know how to research things very well. Anyway, with that being said, hopefully that clears some things up and why I'm extremely critical of certain aspects. So just keep in mind, if you want to post to it, go for it. Just Google Jason Hawes GoFundMe or Conjuring House GoFundMe. It'll pop up for you. So if it's something you're compelled to do and you want to support, go do it. I have every intentions of donating myself. I've just been kind of waiting to see how things are going to kind of unfold and what we actually know about the property. The good thing is, if nothing happens or he's not able to get it, he's guaranteed refunds. So that means all the funds that you donate are staying on the GoFundMe platform. They haven't withdrawn any, because you can't refund finances that have been removed from the platform. And I wanted to make sure he was extremely clear about that, because that was another thing that confused me initially when he's like, I'm raising funds for the auction that's happening on Halloween, but if we don't get it, I said, but, and then I looked in and saw the requirements for the auction also, and I was like, okay, cool. You could have answered that, but because my whole thing was like, he's like, oh, the guarantee refunds. I said, but you can't bid with money that you don't have. So you have to have the money to bid with it, which means you have to take it off the platform, I said, and then I wrote, there's, anyway, regardless, everything's good, everything's fine. Until next time, catch you later. Bye.